This is McCook's Mr. Bill. You're here to get my take on how to teach you to shoot a firearm. 101 basics. For those of you who are already experts or well-trained, this might be a bit boring. At the same time, you might pick up some tricks that you didn't think about. So it might be worth your time to listen. Over the years, I've had a lot of people want to shoot, and they have never shot in their life. I do not allow them to shoot firearms first. Even if they say I want to buy a handgun to defend myself against an ex-lover, like women will come in and say that, or an ex-husband, I say give me 2 days, because I realize I don't have much time. 2 days is what I ask. One is to teach them how to shoot a pellet rifle, just a basic pellet rifle, single shot, break open pellet rifle, and to get their basics in shooting and to understand some of how it works. I then take and I put a target out there at 15 feet. And you might say, well, that's ridiculous. 15 feet, get it out there so you can, a decent distance. And I explain to them that most attacks start within 15 feet. 5 steps. And so you had better be able to punch and understand what the gun does at that range. It also builds up tremendous confidence very quickly that they're going to be punching very accurately on a target this size, the size of a chest. And that's what I push on the end of the totem pole, to get them confident and familiar with a firearm as quickly as possible, and not to be afraid of it either through the noise or through the kick. And a pellet gun works very well for that way of doing it. Plus it only costs about 2 cents a shot. You can afford to shoot the thing. Now with that in mind, I then take the next step. Once they have mastered the 15 feet, feel comfortable, I then move it out there to 10 yards. And they shoot there until they feel comfortable. I then move it out to 20 yards. 60 feet is the most we shoot. And they get comfortable and accurate at that range also. And I also watch for anything they're picking up, bad habits that could cause them inaccurate shooting. Once they have accomplished that, I then come back to the 15 feet. And I pick up and I buy, and I have Tums. Because shooting pieces of paper gets boring pretty quickly for them. And within the first hour, they're pretty bored with it. But once you take the Tums and you start setting them out on the board to shoot a Tums, it gets interesting real quick. Because now you have an exploding target. A target that will explode. So basically like a blue rock. And with that in mind, it's inexpensive, and yet it gives them a lot of confidence that they don't really have as a new shooter. And once you accomplish that they can hit that at least 5 out of 5 times, you then move it on out and clear out to the 10-yard mark, 30 feet, and still having them bust the Tums out there. Once they've accomplished that, you take the next step and you go to aspirins. I said you go to aspirins, and you have them shooting aspirins with the pellet gun.
Hey!
And at 15 feet, when they're busting aspirins, all of a sudden they realize just how accurate they can be. That they don't have to just shoot a 30-round clip to hit something. Too many of the gangbangers, too many of the police sitting there with 14 rounds behind the first one have no comprehension of making the first shot count, so you don't even have to fire the second shot. And with that in mind, if you know that your first shot is dead on, and that you don't have to shoot for the chest, that you can shoot for the nose or for an eye, and the game's over, even with a pellet gun. But then, once they've got that, you move that out to 10 yards. And you're shooting aspirins at 10 yards. And they do it reasonably quick.
Hey!
And you teach them a continual safety. And again, continually watching for any bad habits that might make them miss. But at the same time, I teach them how to shoot. And shoot not from here, because they're going for defense, but shoot from the hip. By shooting from the hip, you have speed shooting. And there isn't not 1 in 1,000 bad guys that shoots from the hip for speed shooting. That means he's going to grab his gun and pull it up here to shoot. FBI kind of stuff and that type of style. And he'll never beat you. He'll be dead before his gun gets up there because you're going to shoot from the hip. And the bad guy drops and you get to live to see tomorrow. I hope that you never have to do any violence, and I can proudly say that no person that I've ever trained ever had to kill someone or even shoot someone. A couple of them pulled guns that they've told me, and one had a guy pull a knife on him, and there was a beer can setting off to the side of him, and he just pulled his gun a fast draw hip and shot the beer can and exploded it by the guy standing there with a knife. And the guy with a knife decided all of a sudden, if he's shooting from the hip and doing that, my knife looks way too short for this, and he took off running. He took off running. We pray that you do not need violence to save your life. If you do, and if you decide to, I hope you find someone that will, for free, as I always did, I never charged anything. I hope they will teach you the proper and safe and correct way to do it, and watch all of the legal laws in your area before you start such a adventure. But shooting is a wonderful sport and an incredible skill that will last you a lifetime. I'm 61 and I still like to shoot. And I hope that you will pick up the sport, because we need shooters in the state of Nebraska and in the United States. Because if the day after scenario comes, this country will need its own militia. And the militia is simply the people themselves protecting their own area. Rate this film.
Well, anybody can do it once. Let's see if we can do it twice.
Go ahead, try it again. Pretty good shooting, kid.
Not bad.
Not bad.
You're an old lady.